Welcome, everybody. Thanks for attending the ReWild Long Island volunteer kickoff for 2022. I'm Raju Rajan. I'm the president of ReWild. I'm one of the founders of ReWild. And as always, it's exciting to have many of you with us, both people whom we know, as well as more excitingly, people we don't. Looking forward to sharing what we are doing with you, and not only just have you participate in existing activities, also to the point, start new activities with a lot of the new energy that's coming into ReWild. So let me share my presentation. Just tell me when you guys can see it. And
got it.
Okay. All right. So again, let me quickly introduce ReWild Long Island to those of you who don't know us. And while I go through, if you have any questions, please do put them in the chat. We'll answer them in the order, right? We'll go through and answer them at the end or catch them in the middle, however, whatever works best for our speakers, right? So ReWild Long Island, we are relatively new. We are only about 3 years old as a community organization and then a nonprofit. We are all volunteers, so every one of us that you see here has a day job in addition to this. But we're an all-volunteer nonprofit focused on sustainable landscaping, which is becoming pretty hot. I mean, even today, I think I saw the New York Times carry an article about rewilding and planting natives for biodiversity. So our focus is, right, we can't just depend on expanding our public lands forever or the government to do enough around biodiversity and climate resilience. A lot of land, over 80% of the land in the United States, for example, is privately owned, right, by individuals, organizations, local governments, etc. So the point is, what do we do with all that landscaping that we do today? How can we enhance biodiversity and climate resilience rather than simply continue to plant more lawns and concrete and what have you? So the kinds of things we do for sustainable landscaping, of course, planting native perennials for increasing biodiversity. That's a very important part of our mission. Growing organic produce locally. So a tomato you grow in your backyard travels far fewer food miles, contributes far less to carbon dioxide in the atmosphere than a tomato that's, say, grown in Mexico and driven over, right? So you could either eat it yourself or, better still, donate produce to a food pantry in your community and have food insecurity reduced in our communities. So growing organic produce locally, that's a great use of our land, especially in the suburbs where people, whether it's a small plot or a big plot, people have access to land. Composting and recycling, I mean, it's sort of, I'm speaking to the choir here, but all the leaves be bag and throw away, the kitchen waste that goes into the landfills. We all know how much better we can do by rebuilding soil, practicing regenerative gardening, composting, recycling, bokashi. I mean, so many different ways to use our excess surplus. And then, once again, let me admit people coming in. And then finally, water use, right? We are dependent on our aquifer in Long Island for our water. So it's extremely important that we help our aquifers, make sure that the water reaching the aquifers is of high quality, right? And then the runoff from our, whether it's our farms or our gardens into the bay, that is so critical. Again, putting native plants, practicing organic gardening, all of that means that we put far fewer chemicals, whether it's urea or whether it is pesticides, whether it is herbicides into our yards, which ultimately reaches our water system, right? So protecting our water system, both our underground aquifers, as well as the bay and the sound and the ocean that we as a ocean side communities largely, right, are so dependent on. And then, smart water use also includes, right, drip irrigation or, promoting, using water barrels, things like that. And then promoting manual and electric landscaping equipment. Many of our communities are already sick and tired of the leaf blowers and have some kinds of bans in place or working on those. The question is beyond that, right? How can we just the care of our lawns as an industry just promotes so many wasteful practices, which we can over time, right? If we can replace with smart and climate smart practices, that would be so much better for our environment. It would be so much better for our sanity and noise pollution and so on and so forth. So really thinking about our landscapes, not just as, oh, green is good, but really thinking about them in terms of biodiversity and climate resilience, and seeing what we can do to be a lot smarter. And many of these practices, right, they're more aesthetic as well, right? There's nothing as ugly as that noise in the morning when you wake up and somebody's blowing leaves all around the place. And this can also save us money. It can be less pollution for our children, our dogs, our grandchildren, ourselves, as well as saving the planet, right? So it's really smart things that we do to help ourselves and help other people and the planet as a whole. That's kind of common sense. It's kind of the new common sense, I would say, of how we should treat ourselves and our surroundings. So that's who we are. And so what the kinds of activities we have been doing, and that's kind of what I want to talk about, because that's goes to the heart of volunteering with ReWild, right? So we'll take turns talking about our established activities, meaning, see, we were founded in the Port Washington area by a group of concerned citizens who basically said, look, they were cutting down large trees on Main Street. Our groups got together and basically said, hey, what can we do that, you can't replace 100-year-old trees or canopies when they get cut down, but what can we do in our yards and in our public and private spaces to combat this? And that's kind of how we got started. So a lot of our energy and a lot of our activities are around Port Washington and more broadly the Kaunitz Peninsula. But obviously the messages we have seem to resonate with so many of you in so many communities across Long Island that there's a lot of interest in saying, hey, what can we, we regularly get emails saying, oh, you know what, it's so far for me to come to Port Washington. Do you know of anything that's happening around me? And I look up that community and it's quite, over in Suffolk or on the southern side. So the good news is that we are now starting to think of clustering and getting some energy started around the Lake Grove and Three Village area, as well as in the southern Nassau around Valley Stream. So we'll talk about that as well as our sustainable garden tour. Those are all our new and emerging activities for this year. But first, let's talk about our established activities. The first, of course, in our cycle, how we start in spring, and the first thing we do is the spring and fall, native plant sales. That is coming up shortly. So, it's by the end of this week, we will be going online with our members only pre-ordering week. And then it gets open to the general public who's able to pre-order. Now, please remember that entire plant sale is managed by volunteer labor. So all of you, right, thanks to all the people who have over the years really helped us, right? Everything from go and get those plants, put them online, right? Then receive the plants, labeling and cutting trays, sorting it, distributing it, all that happens through volunteer effort. We really, both at Lake Grove as well as Port Washington, we'll be distributing from at least those two places, maybe one more, but basically both at Port Washington and Lake Grove, we will love to have your help. We'll be putting this up, say, end of April. So typically what happens is we put the online plant sale all the way through middle of April. By that time, we know exactly what to order, and we order those plants, and then we get to pick them up around April 28th or so, and then we sort them and cut them and distribute them. So would love to get your energy into it. That will, please stay tuned. We will put out a volunteer schedule shortly, within a week or two, and then have people sign up for that. And again, the advantage of volunteering for ReWild, whether it is for this activity or for any others, is the fact that if you have 6 hours of volunteer effort, we do give you free membership, and membership, entitles you to 20% off on plant sales, any other, sales we have, as well as we have exclusive member-only weeks, which, some plants, very often native plants will come with limited stock, or we'll only be able to pre-order limited amounts when we get started. And those are first reserved for members only, so that members get access to a lot of the plants that are hard to get before we offer them to the general public. So if you're not a member, but you want access to those, not too late, head on over to our website. You can still become a member. But again, if you're not a volunteer last year, so last year's volunteers got a chance to become members for free. This year's volunteers will get a chance to become members for free next year. But in the meantime, if you want, you can buy a membership for $50. Of course, benefits ReWild, while at the same time giving you an early access at the plants. So that's the ReWild plant sale. The next activity I wanted to talk about was the ReWild Garden at Dodge, but I'll turn it over to Paul Merkelson, who will be talking about that. Paul,
thank you, Raju. Thank you, Raju. I'm Paul Merkelson. I'm the secretary of the board for ReWild, and I guess my main activity, although I participate in the plant sale and other things, but my main activity is coordinating the activities at the Dodge Garden, at the Dodge Homestead. And so some of you know, and you volunteered there, every Saturday from 9 to 11, we assemble there, and volunteers come, as they prefer to do, whatever they feel like doing, basically, and help out. And a lot actually gets done, but a lot of fun is had as well. So the Dodge Homestead is ReWild's primary physical location. We have a contract to manage that property with the Kowneck Peninsula Historical Society. So we need to not only take care of the property each season, but also look ahead to how we're going to improve the land and make it a benefit to the community. So I think, as you also know, we grow vegetables there for the local food pantry. So this is an activity that's very tied to the community. In addition to people coming down as individuals, we're working with the food pantry, with Plant a Row. That's the organization that coordinates the vegetable growing for the hungry. We are partners with the Historical Society on the site. And it's been amazing at how this has evolved over the last couple of years, primarily. I think our vision in the beginning was just that we would clean it up, redesign it, and it would be like a nice little park garden with native plants. But so many things have happened there. There's been so much activity and so many really exciting ideas that we've sort of come to realize that it's really more of an evolving process. And we want to maintain that flexibility because people are coming with ideas. We're learning things ourselves about the many things that, the impact of what we're doing there. The work itself, for those of you that don't know, it can be light work like weeding or tending the vegetables. There is some construction work that we need to do. The property has 2 historic buildings, a small horse barn and a chicken coop, which is our tool shed. And they both need work. We're building compost bins. So there's a lot of things going on, and anyone who is in the area, wants to drop by, you don't have to be a Port Washington resident. We've had people drop by from all over the island, but Saturday mornings, weather permitting, is a great time to do that. So I think that also the other thing that I should mention is that, you know, it's become a great photo op for our elected officials. This is something that everybody likes to be visible about. And it's a wonderful place because it's not only beautiful in terms of the plants, but the people that come. We have such a wide diversity of people. We have a lot of families, a lot of children that come there. You know, just the whole variety is really incredible, and it's a very I think inspiring experience. So I just encourage people to come down, and you know, even if you're just dropping by for a few minutes to see what's going on, Saturday is a good time to do that. So I'll leave it at that right now. I mean, I should also mention that, you know, we're certainly following regenerative agricultural practices and looking to, you know, increase biodiversity of both plants and animals, and you know, live in harmony with the site, respect the historic nature of the site and the original inhabitants of the peninsula. So there's just, you know, I could go on a lot about the importance of this and the excitement in terms of what we're building there, and how this is in some ways I wouldn't call it a laboratory in terms of us being, you know, quantifying everything that we're doing, because there's just too many variables, but it is a living experiment in human and natural evolution. So I'll just leave it at that for now.
Okay, I think I'm next up. I'm Kathy Coley. I'm a fairly new member of the board at Landmark at ReWild. Sorry, I'm on the board at Landmark also. I retired last September after a 40-year career at Farmingdale State College, and Kimberly, when she speaks, will talk about her experiences at Farmingdale, which, as you know, has a wonderful horticulture program. What I'm going to speak about tonight is a program called Artavist. It's a term that was coined by Raju and possibly his wife Sonia to merge the activism and artistic nature of us. And we understand that as important as all of the things that Paul and Raju and Kimberly and Rebecca will speak about, we need to communicate it. And artists are, as you know, stars at communicating. So we reached out a year ago, and we had a number of meetings during the week with about 25 different artists throughout the island. And last summer, we got everybody together and we had kind of, I think we called it Weed and Read. So we had people reading poetry and reading short stories, and we had art displayed, and you'll see photographs of that event. You see people standing and listening and up by the barn. And we also had a theme song created by one of our people, by a gentleman named Jim, who wrote a song called What Shall We Do with Suburban Gardens? And it was sung to the tune of What Do You Do with a Drunken Sailor? And it was very entertaining and very on point. It was a lot of fun. So we're going to do that again. This year, we're going to do it on June 18th in observance somewhat of the summer solstice. And it'll be probably about 9 to 11. Rebecca and I are working on it together. And we'd love people to help us plan it. We're still in the process of figuring out what we want to do, but everyone's welcome. If you want to work there while you're listening to music and listening to poetry, that's great. I love to have my weeding accompanied by art. So it's a great event for me. So that's something you can volunteer for, and we certainly hope you'll attend. That will be held at the Dodge Garden, which is sort of headquarters for me. And we also have one other activity. You know that we're going to be going out to various Earth Day events and teach-ins at the Science Museum of Long Island. And so Rebecca has designed these absolutely adorable seed packets that we're going to stuff with seeds that we gathered last fall from our gardens, Bee Helft and Rebecca and my gardens. And if anyone wants to help, it's going to be like a quilting bee. We're going to stuff and label all these little packets so that we can give them out to people who come to our events and hope that they will start planting native flowers. So it's fun. It's going to be at my house, and that's on March 26th in the morning, about 10 o'clock. We'll send out information on that also. So thank you all for being here tonight. And I think I'm turning over to Kimberly.
I think that's me.
Okay.
What are they doing? Hi, I'm Kimberly. I see a lot of friendly faces and known faces out there in the crowd. Most of you know me. I do own KMS Native Plants in Lake Grove. I'm one of the newest board members, along with Rebecca, to ReWild. And I am also just recently recertified as a New York State certified nursery landscape professional. And I'm also attending Farmingdale State College to work on my bachelor's in horticulture technology management. Also, while doing all of this fun stuff, we're looking to expand ReWild into Suffolk County. Being located in Lake Grove, when I first started KMS, I reached out to several different groups that were working with native plants, and ReWild basically fit what I was looking for because they're not purists. They also know that there are fantastic ornamentals out there that still work, and they're about sustainability, growing our own food, and composting, which we should all be doing if we can. So I fit right in here, and I have an acre here in Lake Grove, and I offered my property for the spring sale. I think that was the first one I did. I always mix them all up, but I think the spring sale was one of the first ones I did, and it worked really well. And we just had the fall sale here, and it was fantastic. And I'm looking forward to doing the spring one. But regarding the Suffolk County chapter we're trying to do, it's basically new. You know, we don't really have a meeting place yet. So we'll be doing a lot by Zoom, or possibly even meeting here after hours. Just getting a feel for what everybody's looking to do. We'll take suggestions from everybody as to what you'd like to do. We can do workshops. Today, I actually sent out a lot of emails to many different schools, libraries, townships in the area, seeing if they would be interested in having us in. I see Patty over there. She's looking. She was one of the ones I reached out to today. I mean, I have a lot of ideas, and I need to focus, but having help would be great. And I think having ReWild out here also would be an absolute plus for our area, because as everybody has said before, sustainability, it's not just a fad, it's an actual way of living, and people are seeing that. You know, people are growing their own food, and we have so many native plants that are edible, and we should all be doing it. But that's basically what we're doing here. So in the next couple of weeks, I think Raj, you said we're going to start sending out some more information. And if you could fill out I think there's a link in the chat area there, just seeing what you would be interested, where you would be interested in volunteering. I still also need help because I'm actually open the whole week for ReWild when I get the plants delivered here. So I would need help during the week and the weekend of the sale, which is Mother's Day weekend. But I think I hit everything. But yeah, like I said, we're just starting slowly to get, you know, a chapter out here so we can get more people in. Cause like we said, it's not easy to get to Port Washington when you're out here.
Right.
I think that's it. I think I hit everything.
Yeah, no, Kimberly, thanks. I know that's great. I mean, and the point about new chapters is, right, we don't want to be overly prescriptive and say, oh my God, ye shall do this, and this. I think there are some good exemplars, even starting in Port Washington. You know, we had multiple meetings, I remember, at the local library before we hit on what we wanted to do. I think the first activity we had done as a group was about 7 households said, oh, you know what, we want to ReWild, but we really don't know how to go about doing this. And so we reached out to Rusty Schmidt, as many of you know, is really an amazing, wonderful person who, you know, has helped many of us ReWild our homes. And Rusty actually gave us a deal, and really we worked out a package with him where he came out and worked with all, I think it was 7 or 12 of us. and actually helped us create designs for our property and then acquire the plants. When we saw how hard it was to acquire the plants, we were like, why don't we do a plant sale? Because these plants are just wonderful, but it takes, nobody knows about them, and it's so hard. The wholesalers won't deal with individuals who go up to them. And then we started the plant sale, and then fortuitously we heard about the property at Dodge. I mean, so everything builds from one to another. It's very hard to plan how the evolution of a specific space goes. For now, for example, the latest activity we are starting up in Port Washington, thanks to the energy of Patricia Spencer, who's another wonderful volunteer here, is the sustainable garden store that we are starting up in Port Washington, where we are selecting 4 or 5 houses and just having people go through and look at examples of what people have done in terms of turning their yards into more sustainable spaces. And again, I think the reason is very often we get the question, right? Does rewilding mean my yard's going to look ugly? Does it mean that I'm going to get a ticket from the town? Does it mean I'll get more rats? I mean, there's a lot of myths out there about gardening with native plants or putting in organic or composting or, oh my God, my compost heap is going to smell, right? No, not at all. Not if you turn it around, not if you do it the right way, right? It actually can be a wonderfully delicious smell of composting leaves that you get in the backyard. That's about all, right? So yeah, it's all those trying to actually show people is much better than talking to them and telling them how wonderful it is. If they go out to the yard of some of our rewilders who've been doing it for a few years, I think you can get your questions answered and see how wonderful it is. Again, these kinds of activities and ideas can come about in very many places. So if in Suffolk or Lake Grove, right, or in Valley Stream, if the teams that get together want to go in one direction or another, or rewilding public spaces, that's another activity that we have done where, right, a local schoolyard or a churchyard or a public space that requires something that's prominent in the community, but obviously is not being cared for very well, putting a rain garden out in our main street. I mean, these are all things that definitely ideas that can percolate through the activity of the group and then get enshrined in the community. So the direction that you're going to go is completely open. And I think that, please click on that link that I put in chat and you'll be able to sign up for one or more of these activities. I see a question in chat about the volunteer, Kathy mentioning the volunteer seed stuffing. That is in Port Washington at her home. And we'll be sending out an email with directions for that. Please do sign up on the Artavist link and we'll definitely send you a contact for that. So with that, let me turn it over to Rebecca to talk about what we are planning to start up at Valley Stream, which is on the in Nassau on the South Shore, on the southern side of Nassau.
I was just going to say, you skipped me. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Rebecca. I'm a mom, a gardener, and I'm a board member of ReWild. And I'm the only one who lives in Valley Stream, which is about, I would say about 20 miles south of, excuse me, Port Washington. So I'm about half an hour away. And I'm pretty lonely out here, but I know there are a few of you who live in my area or closer to me than you do to Port Washington. So that's why maybe we're interested in maybe starting up a group here in my area, maybe Valley Stream, Elmont, Franklin Square, that kind of area. You know, we have a unique area here, in my opinion, because we have a lot of concrete. We don't have a lot of sprawling estates and land and stuff. At least here in Valley Stream, there's a lot of concrete and it's just kind of like a different landscape to deal with. So it'd be nice to gather and kind of learn from each other. And, you know, I have a wild garden in my front yard and in my backyard. And, you know, so I would love to meet new people in my area and try to make a little group. And I wanted to give you, I don't know, Raju, can you put the slide up? A little overview of one of the main projects we have here. Last year, we did a planting at AJ Hendrickson Park here in Valley Stream. it was an effort, really, it was ReWild, although the there's a beautification committee here in Valley Stream. And so, you know, they signed off on it, like they allowed it, and, you know, but it was hard to find volunteers locally from that committee because they're more focused, I guess, on like litter cleanup and just beautification in that sense. So this kind of project that we did in the park, it's been tough. Like, you know, so I would need some help trying to maintain it, because we have to maintain it for a few years before we can just let it go and kind of do its own thing. So last year I spent pretty much the whole year watering it every 2 weeks, weeding every 2 weeks, adding plants like whenever I could. And if you notice, there's landscape fabric that we put down when we planted because there was a slope, and we have to remove that this year. So I'll need help. So any volunteers who are willing to help at all with this project at Hendrickson Park, it's much appreciated, because this year I'll be out there watering and weeding like crazy again. And there are other projects here in Valley Stream. Oh, okay, somebody lives in Valley Stream. All right, hi Irene. There are other projects here that the beautification is looking into, like really interesting gardening projects. Yeah. Hello. But so there'll be lots of things to do here. And I mean, let me see, the closest farm we have here is Crossroads Farm, which I haven't really been in touch with, but maybe somehow there would be some kind of opportunities to do something, or in terms of organic vegetable farming. I mean, who knows, you know, in the future. But I guess it's important right now to try to just gather and try to create our own little chapter down here, because, you know, we're kind of far away from Port Washington. So that's pretty much it about me. If you're interested, yeah, like Raju said, fill out the form and maybe we can start a little chapter. Even 2 or 3 people can make a big difference. So thank you.
Hey, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Rebecca. I think the only activity that we did not talk about so far is the summer program to fight hunger and climate change. That's another activity that ReWild has been doing together with our partners, Plant a Row for the Hungry. This activity actually started just at the start of COVID, when we realized that, you know, our young people were shut up indoors unnecessarily through the entire COVID period. I mean, they were isolated, and so they needed an outlet. There was food insecurity that was increasing because a lot of people were out of work, especially immigrant families, and we needed a way to you know, help the environment, gainfully employ our youth, educate them, channel their passion into rewilding and activities like that, while at the same time serving our community. And that's kind of how this started, and it's really grown. So the summer program to fight hunger and climate change, this will be the 3rd year we are doing it. And actually we have 7 wonderful activist youths from last year who have agreed to stay on and help to create this year's program. So long-term, we see this as a program that is done by the youth for the youth, with adults working alongside the youth. So we always need volunteers for this program. We will be working in multiple spaces. And again, fortunately or unfortunately, this activity happens in and around Port Washington, Kaunak Peninsula, simply because all the youth, all the young people are transported by their parents. So you obviously need the pick up and drop off not to be too far. So we focus on Port Washington, which is Schreiber High School, Manhasset High School. We have students coming from Great Neck. Actually, we have some students coming from further away, but mostly, right, we focus on these areas. And the students are going to be working, you know, they're going to be growing organic produce, which in conjunction with Plant a Row, we'll be donating to a food pantry, Our Lady of Fatima in town. They will be learning how to compost, bokashi, recycle. They will be working alongside with you know, another organization, Transition Town Port Washington, for recycling all the garden pots. They will be working in multiple preserves. I mean, the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Shelter Rock has kindly agreed to also, I mean, their garden committee has, or green committee has also become a partner, as has the, Guggenheim, the Pre-W Greens out in Guggenheim Preserve. I mean, so a number of different groups, right, are going to be coming together to help us. I wouldn't even say educate the youth, because many of them are very, very educated and articulate. It is really about getting them connected with fighting hunger and climate change in the community by giving them an opportunity to put their hands in the ground and do great things, whether it's pulling invasives out of preserves, whether it is planting natives, planting vegetables, raising, trellising, weeding, composting, right? Doing all the great things in the community to make it a better place. And the young people have a terrific time. And the best illustration of that is the fact that many of them volunteer then to come back the next year to be leaders and help fashion the following year's program, right? I mean, so that's kind of the best testament. They really have a great time. They really feel they're being productive. They feel they're being treated as a sort of responsible adults and not as children. And that's a great experience for them. Actually, we usually have a surplus of applications. We usually, we offer about 20 to 25. This year, we're planning to offer about 25 internships. We end up having over 50 applications, and then do interviews and select, right, the most passionate, the most talented, the most diverse group of students that we can, so that we can totally reflect the strength and spirit of the community in this activity. We always welcome volunteers, adult volunteers, to work alongside the youth. So we'll have signups for that. Again, please do sign up in the chat on the link, and we'll definitely contact you if this activity is the one that you want to you are interested in pursuing. So with that, let me stop sharing and pause and welcome. I mean, like, if any of my fellow panelists want to say something more, I welcome you. Otherwise, definitely anybody from the audience, either you have questions or you have ideas for things we could be doing, or anything, please speak up. Paul, Kathy, Kimberly, anything that you'd want to add that we forgot?
Yeah, I'm curious, if we could do a show of hands, how many people are Port Washington? Okay, 1, 2, 3, okay. And a lot of, okay, I see thumbs up. Hi, Betty Mintz. Okay, good, thank you. And how many would be in the Lake Grove area, for Kimberly? Okay, Laura, good, and Patty, excellent.
Jane, okay. Mike, yep, hi, Mike. And I think Laura's on here too, yep.
Not Jane, sorry.
Yep, I know a few that are nearer to here. Yeah.
Oh, can I say something?
And I had,
And
Please
Irene
go
has
ahead,
a
Rebecca,
question.
and then Irene.
okay.
Okay, yeah. I just wanted to say that volunteering, I know sometimes it sounds intimidating, like when you first get involved with a group, like it's going to be a job or something, like you're going to be doing it, but here's like, as much as you can help is appreciated. Even if you volunteer a few times, or you do just, a few weeks, at Dodge, or you do a plant sale a few days at the plant, it doesn't have to be like a year-long commitment. It's like what you can do. Obviously, we're all volunteers ourselves, and we're busy, and we know that, so don't think that it's going to be like, every week for the rest of your life, like volunteering for us, you know what I mean? It's like, we take all the help we can get. We appreciate it.
I ditto to what Rebecca said, and I also want to mention that every time you volunteer, you learn something amazing. I mean, and it may not be garden related, but the most interesting people are these volunteers. So you grow and learn every time you get involved in programs like this. So.
I'm sorry, Irene, you were about to say something.
Yes, hello. I was pleased to hear Rebecca speak because, as she said, down here in Valley Stream, it's very far from Port Washington, and it's considerably different as to our landscape. So I would be thrilled to get something started here with her. She also mentioned about the Crossroads Farm. That's the Nassau County Land Trust. And as far as I can tell, because I've been in touch with them, they're kind of self-contained, their own organization doing organic gardening. So I don't know how much interface we'd have with them, but they do have somebody who, the name escapes me right now, who does native landscaping and is a wealth of information. And he is in our area, Rebecca, and he sells plants there on Saturdays.
That's Anthony.
That's Anthony
That's
Marinello.
it, Marinello, I think.
We all know him.
Yeah, okay. So I don't think there's any space we could use there, but they'd probably be a wealth of information, as I'm kind of signed on to help them with some seed sorting and things when they get back to me on that. But Rebecca, I will be emailing you privately and see what is doing down here, because not only is it a good thing in the big sense, I'm never happier than when I'm playing in the dirt, which I did all day today, because now that I'm returning to my own yard, and it's just, you know, it's regenerative. So I hoped that you and I can meet up and see who else is down here to do something. Port Washington is just too far.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Hello, I attempted to volunteer last year to your organization, and to say the least, it is quite overwhelming to really understand how these groups are structured and how they function and how you begin to volunteer. I also have a huge piece. I'm in Baldwin South, not in the harbor, but I'm on an acre of land on this block. Several of us have an acre of land. And I spend an enormous amount of time on my own property, but I just love working on my property and wanted to do more, but I don't think, I keep on thinking, is if there were an orientation of some sort that would give me a full understanding as to how someone like myself, who knows very little about your organization, would begin to volunteer. I read most of your emails, but I don't think I have a grasp. So if anyone has a suggestion, is there a place I need to go to or someone I need to speak to? Again, I also would prefer to stay on the South Shore. I really live in the Oceanside area, although this is South Baldwin. It's, you know, Oceanside is across the street. So I've any and all suggestions. How does someone like me begin?
You know, if I can just take that, I don't know that I can completely answer your question, Louise, but I'm always amazed that people show up from other communities to come down to the Dodge Garden. And I say, well, why did you come here from Seacliff, Westbury, Brentwood, you know, all Queens? People have come from all over. A lot of people come from Great Neck, which is not that far away. I go, don't you have something like this in your community? Why did you come all this distance? They go, no one's interested in this where I live. That's not true. You just haven't found them yet. Okay. So people are interested in, you know, in rewilding and getting their hands into the ground and growing something. The benefits, the therapeutic benefits, aside from the benefits to the environment and the community, are well documented, and you know, there's increasing evidence to, and people are just naturally attracted to it. So I would personally say, and again, grow it and they will come. People will show up. We've reached a point where people just show up. They say, I heard about this, I saw this, and they just show up. So I think what we all need to do is reach out to people, not just, you know, as groups, but one-on-one also. A friend of a friend.
Oh,
you know,
yes.
just get and get.
I actually
and don't,
tried that as soon as I moved into this location.
Keep trying and don't. Yeah, don't ask for too much.
Oh, I didn't ask much.
Don't ask for too much. Yeah, just if you can get people to do a little bit, they'll start doing more and more and more.
No, they were delivering plants to me. That's what they thought I wanted. I prepared a flyer, actually.
not bad.
Well, I wanted people to come, and this property is huge, and I wanted people to take little plots of my land and to take care of them. And the whole biodiversity thing was just tremendous for me. But honestly, I live in a neighborhood it's all very pristine, as you all know, even on the North Shore. And I leave my leaves, and everyone else, I'm sure they think, what is this woman doing? And I have my gardener chop my leaves, twice a year. And then at some point things get cleaned up a bit more, but no one does this, no matter how much I talk to them about it. Stop using your fertilizer and just, chop your leaves. I know no one is interested. They all want it pretty picture perfect. So that's where I live. That's how it is where I live. Is it different where you live?
Well, I can answer that. I live on a dead end street in Port Washington, and so maybe there are 20 houses. I am the only rewilded front yard with, a cardboard and mulch down to get rid of my lawn. And when you do an aerial photo of this area, it's pretty funny. I stick out like not a lawn.
So do I. I'm the only one that's natural.
But little by little, all of the neighbors are putting in native plants. So it's, one step at a time, baby steps. We don't expect people to tear out their lawns immediately, although that would make me happy. But that, gradual change. And that's how we bring about big change.
May I say something?
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I mean, you say there's nobody around, but you know what? We're here now. I have a sign just out front for ReWild. I have the one that says more butterflies, more bees. I think more bees, more butterflies, more birds. And many people stop. I live in a neighborhood where I'm surrounded by, turf grass, and I'm a 1 acre wooded lot, and, everyone's like, oh, it's so nice. And I'm like, you can have this too, you have to just change your ideas. But the sign makes a big difference. I also have a sign out front because I'm a certified wildlife habitat. So that gets people stopping. So, and technically I'm not supposed to have signs in the village of Lake Grove. For some reason, they're allowing it. So I'm not going to question them. But just little things like that, you'd be amazed at just what a little sign can do. Like you'll have neighbors stop and say, hey, what is this about? And I have a lot of children that stop because at first they just think I'm a wildlife rehab place. So they're intrigued that way. But when they do come in, I show them the native plant pickup yard, and they see all the native bees and the birds that are in there, and just, the life that's going on, and they're amazed. I've actually had a gentleman down the road, he's all, Pachysandra lawn, every clean line. And when I had first opened, and I also introduced him, to the ReWild concept. And while he was here, it was high time for all the native wasps to be on the mountain mints. And he was struck by it. And he's an older gentleman, very sweet. And he just kept looking over. And finally he was like, what is going on over there? And I'm like, oh, this is, mountain mint. And it's one of the best plants for our native bees. And he was like, I need them. So, I mean, it's just little things like that, just actually getting them to see the plant, or just opening a conversation with somebody walking by. It's just like I said, that little sign just makes a big difference, and people are curious about it. So, I mean, we're out there, you gotta you gotta rein us in. That's just what it is. And just like you had said, you don't think you don't think there's anybody else out there, but once you start getting your word out there and just talking to people, you'll find there's a lot of us out here doing this, and we just need the time. And like I said, if we start a Suffolk County chapter, it's not going to happen overnight. Like Raju said, it takes time, even if it's just, a Zoom meeting where we meet and just brainstorm, or we have a meeting at somebody's yard and just, brainstorm and see what we can do. If it's just a local something, or even just a library or a school. I mean, but we're out there. So I don't want to keep mumbling, but we're out there and we're looking for you.
Yeah, no, I think very good, excellent. I mean, to start off, I would say, look, we'll be putting out the plant sale volunteering sheet. I think that's a great opportunity, even if you have to drive out for that. That's once you're doing it, but you get to see the plants, you get to pick up the plants, and guess what? We'll have the yard signs there too. Feel free to pick them up, right? And setting up an example and making your yard, like showing it not as like, oh my God, presenting ReWild in the best possible light, right? Instead of grass, having thyme or having phlox out there, having a clean yard, having a beautiful yard, having a rewilded yard with a sign, maybe a good way to get people to stop by and say, hey, what is this? And pick up on your example, right? And then take it from there. And we are starting up these chapters in Lake Grove and Valley Stream right now, but soon enough, there'll be enough people around Baldwin to start coalescing a chapter there too, maybe, right? But really the example till then is come out, maybe help us with the sales, pick up your native plants while you do that, and pick up some yard signs, and then maybe, start off slow, but work your yard, and then let's try and get you networked where you are. Okay. Anyone have a question or a thought or an idea?
I just wanted to add about the volunteering, like how to volunteer. Like most of the volunteering opportunities are in Port Washington at the Dodge Garden. So if it's just as simple as emailing one of us or just filling out the form and getting on the right list. And we send out like an email blast every time we need help with something, whether it's like weeding or whatever project at Dodge Garden or the plant sale. And then the plant sale, we have several Zoom sessions and then people sign up for each step of the plant sale. So that goes, it's everything from sorting to, all the different steps that go into the plant sale. So like you can always just email us if you're not sure. We always have something going on during the season and in the fall. So, filling out the form and getting on the list, we'll be sending out, we send out things all the time for volunteers, calls.
Yeah. And if we are not doing something that you think we could be doing, drop us an email or tell us, or you can start something up. And if like 2 or 3 people feel the same way, then they can get together and get that started. It's all about, right? We're not some kind of national professional organization. We are a bunch of people who all have day jobs or lives outside ReWild and try to make time to do this because we are very passionate. I mean, I did this first in my backyard. I ripped out my lawn and I didn't even know what I was doing. I just got a native wildflower mix off the internet, put it in there, and just saw the explosion of life in my backyard. And then my tomatoes were like so good, and peas and everything I had in my garden just sprang to life with my native plant meadow. And so I kind of became a big convert for why people should be doing this rather than just have a sterile lawn. Right. So anyway, that's me. And so, if you're just as passionate about it because of your personal, that's the best thing, right? I mean, doing it in your yard, seeing that butterfly come to the plant you put there, I think that's the best, or the bee or whatever, that's always the best endorsement you can get. In these areas of, in these days of very, let's say, partisan politics or very, this is something that you can talk to anybody about, and we welcome, right? Just about anybody can do it. It doesn't matter what you think about anything else. If you put a milkweed in your yard, a butterfly will come and it won't care what you think. That's the cool thing. So I'll put the link in there in the chat again. And if anybody has a thought or an idea, please share.
And how would I get in touch with Rebecca since she's on the South Shore?
Okay, you know what? I will put, Rebecca, why don't you put your email in chat?
Yeah, I'll put my email. I'll put my email in the chat, or you can just, yeah, you can just send me an email, or you can, fill out the form, but you can send me an email directly. It's no problem.
Okay, where would I get your email from?
Yeah, I put it in the chat. If you open at the bottom, you should see a little button for chat.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Rebecca@rewildlongisland.org.
Okay, thank you. I think you're a good beginning for me, Rebecca.
Are you in the village of Valley Stream, or what part?
No, honey, I'm not in Valley Stream. I'm
yeah.
in
Oh,
South Baldwin, it's like I
Okay.
said, it's really Oceanside schools, right by
Yeah.
Silver Lake Park and Caroline Lake. I have a stream in my backyard. I'm on Lakeside in Baldwin South. I think it's called downtown Baldwin. So
okay. I think I mixed you up with Irene. Irene is in Valley Stream. Yeah, for a moment there, sorry. Okay, Baldwin's good. There's a community garden in Baldwin too.
I know.
I don't know much about, but I want to find out more.
Yes. So do I. I haven't, but now I can. Let's just put it that way. Okay.
Okay, so we're coming up on the hour. So thanks a lot. So you can see in the chat Kathy's email, Rebecca's email. You can email them directly, but definitely fill out the form. If you fill out the form, we'll reach out and definitely get in touch with you. I'm so enthused to find so many of you, especially all the new people that jumped on the call. I really love the fact that there's so much energy we are tapping into. I look forward to doing great things and little things this coming year.